So this is the New Haven Sharpie from the NRG plants. And last time I bought it was 8 or 9 months ago. So even though I haven't touched it in 3 months, there's been some progress. Kind of got hung up on the rigging, which is when I realized that it doesn't look like it was actually as well researched as I thought. You know, the rigging, I was looking at block size and line size, which weren't specified. And then was trying to figure out what those extra thing on the mast that would have prevented the gap from being lowered was. And the more I looked into it, the more I found out that it's not actually from any single plan. I guess it's features of a 16-foot Sharpie and a 35-foot Sharpie from Mystic Seaport and a North Carolina Sharpie. And the hull is the same on all of them. People built these in their backyard. But the rigging, you know, I built this, I used the plans with the bowsprit because it looks really cool, but nothing 16-foot out of New Haven would have been built with the bowsprit. And so I'm trying to kind of regroup and figure out how to rig it. The other neat thing that's happening is when I went to Mystic Seaport on my last trip up to Boston, the 35-foot one is actually getting restored. So you can see it, you know, basically on, you know, they've completely torn it apart. It's on formers exactly the way the model was built, or maybe the other way the model was built exactly the way the real one was built. And if someone's doing another one of these, you know, you could use the hull shape from the plans, but it would be really cool to build it, you know, the way that the one that's being restored.
May I say something?
Sure.
Joe Lorenzo here. I'm working on a Sharpie model as well. It's a restoration or repair. And I got a lot of information from the book by Ruel Parker. Do you have that book?
I do have that book, and I've also got a book on gaff rigging and a few other things. So, you know, but I was also up at Mystic Seaport where they have a lot of additional information that's really specific to New Haven ones, and actually trying to merge all the different sources of information and figure out what would have been right for this. Although at the end of the day, given that I've started to work with the spread, I may put it on anyways, because at the end of the day, it looks better with it encapsulated or something like that.
Dave's twist.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I went one step further and I actually contacted Parker, and he's been instrumental in giving me more detail. So he's approachable, I believe. So you might want to try that route.
Yeah, I've actually been following your log. You and I had exchanged some emails and stuff.
Oh,
trying to
okay.
figure out what the original
I'm
plan.
sorry. Good. Then we're on the same page.
Oh, yeah. No,
Okay.
your restoration is really, really interesting, and I've been enjoying following it.
Now you have a face to go with a name.
There you go. Thank you.
That's just like your cross section, Dave. That looks really clean work. Very impressed. Next, any volunteers?
Well, I brought along a little piece of test work that I did. As many of you know, I do my own etching. And when I draw my artwork, oftentimes I'm not really sure whether it's going to come out, unless, you know, until after I've done it. So I made up a scale, kind of a test sheet to kind of show what I can get away with. And I translated pixels into dimensions. And now I know I can relatively be assured that a 4 pixel at 1200 dpi will translate to a reliable etching.
All right, so for the benefit of those online, Gene's passing around an example of his work, and when it gets around to it, we'll put it in front of the camera later.
It's a scale.
Yeah, essentially. So now I know I can draw it down to 4 pixels and
It'll show up.
reasonably sure that whatever I've done will come out. So that translates to, you know, possibly screening or anything of that sort if I wanted to get down to that level.
I have to tell you, anybody who's not doing any etching should get into it. I was restoring a model of the monitor that Noah owned. And the model, as all models, had the rail on top of the turret. It was just rail iron. We know that on top of that rail iron were sheets of iron that had sections of holes punched into 1-inch diameter holes. And they called it a rifle guard or something like that, but something you could stand on comfortably. Gene, with the drawing from the monitor guy, reproduced that shield in brass, and I added it to the model and explained it to John Broadwater, the NOAA guy at the time, exactly what it is. It's in a museum in Carolina now, and as far as I know from my communications, it is the only accurate monitor model in existence right now. All the other kits still have the rail iron. So thanks to Gene.
Did they mount some kind of awning on that too?
Yeah. Well, the sticking up from the monitor were something like davits.
Right.
And those davits supported the edge of a canvas.
Right.
That covered the whole top. But that was only on, it was never on the G's at sea. It was only on and, when they needed protection. Not when they- The ship only lasted a year anyway, not quite a year.
I see some stuff in the back corner there. You guys gonna just brought it in for side discussions, or do you have something to share?
Yeah, I can show it up to everybody. So I was talking about earlier, military aviation's, doing a carrier aviation exhibit. And I decided to tackle on the project of building the Enterprise from Battle Midway. So what I've done is I went ahead and purchased everything for the kids. So the model kit alone is a trumpeter model kit. Been rebranded from this company called I Love Kit. Never heard of it before, but that's how model kits go nowadays. It comes with a single place, a single piece hole. Bring up the camera show everybody. But the model itself will be 28 inches long, fully complete. I've already started doing research on it. Some of the things on there, the whole thing on the side, they molded it in there too thick. So I'm gonna have to go back with my own sand sponges and take off a lot of the detail. Some of the things that I did was I also bought the Pontos model kit, which is a aftermarket upgrades for it, and it's considered like one of the best on the market for this stuff. So it includes 258 pieces of scribe brass, 12 photo etch sheets, 68 pieces of resin parts, and then all the other masking details that you need. The one thing that was really got me with this model kit is that it comes with the wood veneer deck for it. I'll pass it around so you guys can see. So part of the research I had to do for this, because they have two kits offered. The Enterprise during the Battle of Midway had the 20 Bravo blue deck, but they also offer a teak model version of it. And I didn't know this. Pre-1939, the Navy kept all of its aircraft carriers and battleships with the teak deck. Once the outbreak of World War II started, they slowly started progressing everything to the blue wood decks. And officially, once we entered the war in 41, it was a mad rush slapping blue paint onto every single flight deck that they could get their hands on. So I didn't know that, so I almost bought the wrong kit, and that's a $260 boo-boo right there. But yeah, so this is gonna be my next big project. The last model that I brought in was the Normandy. I was working on it for my buddy. I just started painting the process on that. So I'm gonna be building this now. So I'll be bringing it in throughout the next meets to show everybody the progress going on it.
What's the point of the?
Oh, do you mind if I make a comment? Right now I'm working on a 1/200th scale trumpeter of HMS Hood, and I'm doing it for the museum specifically. So I'm using the Pontos kit as well. And I would just caution you, Pontos's photo etch is very thin. It's extremely thin. It's very fine. It has excellent detail. So there's no problem there, but it's extremely thin. And if you bend it the wrong way, depending on what tool you use, well, if you use your fingers, I like to use my fingers when I possibly can, but it'll break. And if it breaks, it's hell trying to get it back together again. So I would caution you, read the instructions for the Pontos photo etch very carefully. And the smaller the part, the more delicate it'll be, and the more likely it is that it will break. So you have to handle with tender loving care, or you'll end up trying to reach photo etch parts, and which is very difficult because photo etch is anything but user friendly.
I appreciate it. 'Cause the only photo etch I've worked with is the white and models. That stuff runs pretty thick, so I'll have to keep that in mind. So thank you.
You're quite well.
What was the reason for the blue deck?
It was their attempt at trying to camouflage the ships at sea better.
Yeah, I was wondering about
Maybe if
that.
they make the decks blue, that would hide them from the surface, but they kind of, they're like, oh, let's not go around and think about the wake.
Yeah, that, and it's like, it helps not being spotted, also makes it harder for the pilots to land. All right, so,
I have a question about the photo etch. I don't do a lot of it, but the question that I have is, when they do the photo etch, the brass that they put it on is not annealed. I'm just asking the question because I don't know. I do know when you're making, for example, when I'm making deadeye strops from a brass ring, what I do is I heat the brass to soften it, and then it bends and typically doesn't break. With photo etch, I'm guessing that it's not annealed in any way, but yet you're bending it. I'm wondering if you anneal it first before you bend it. Has anybody tried that?
If you're doing complex curves, it's best to anneal it. If you just bend in a straight line, don't put any heat on it, because you will distort it like crazy. But if you're, say, bending a complex curve on a railing or something like that, annealing it be your best bet because it makes it easier to work with.
Okay, now you anneal it by just putting it in a flame, right?
Yeah, just take a cigarette lighter or something and heat up the area you gotta make your bend in. It'll turn a different color. But I mean, if it turns a little black, you can wipe that off. But it makes the brass a whole lot more forgiving as far as your bends go. And they make them easier, especially if you're doing any kind of compound curves.
Do you quench it?
No,
Okay,
let it dry, let it cool off on its own.
okay, thank you,
Which, being so thin, it don't take that long anyway.
thank you.
all right, Gene's photo etch experiment has come around, so I'll show that to the camera. Different width lines down to as small as you could get.
Got 50% brass?
That's 5,000 brass.
What is a full distance translate?
Well, each pixel is about, I don't know in inches.
200, so
One
whatever.
pixel is about 21 thousandths of a millimeter.
Micron.
Oh, I don't know. Not that big. I don't know. I don't know. Just, I don't want to fill it myself. I don't know. That's why I wanted to make something that translated pixels into something that I work with. I don't know.
See what it is.
Yeah, because that's what I draw in. Basically, it's in pixels. The brass that comes with the kit, do you know how thick that brass is that they use? You say it's fairly thin. Because this is 5 thousandths and it's
I-
probably comparable, maybe thinner.
I have no idea, I really want to shoot over.
It's probably pretty close.
Yeah.
Stuff to that 2 million scale, now that's more.
That's 5,000. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, that's twice as the difference, that should be. That's good.
You'll be there before long, dude.
I'll just use thinner brass.
Any other show and tell? Sounds like we're on our way to Harper Larry's then.
That's it.
Gene,
For,
Bo Kimke is a member, is he not now?
yeah, associate member, yeah.
He'd make a great profile. model of market.
Still online, Bo? Yeah, yes. I see.
Yep, I'm still here.
So you heard that discussion earlier on about needing volunteers for model of the month. You're more than welcome to participate.
Okay, I've got some sections of my HMS Hood that that I think I would like to share. I'm not sure how we will do it via Zoom, but I've done some rigging early on, and I've improvised on my own. So I would like sometime in the future I would like to be able to share that. Yes.
Yeah, I think actually you gave me a bunch of information that I included along with the model that we posted.
Right. Right.
So
Okay.
I don't know if that's enough for what he needs or not, but I'll point him to that to begin with. All right, for the sake of those in the room that don't already know, we usually, many of us head out for lunch after the meeting's concluded. If you haven't been before, everyone's welcome. So apparently this time will be our first foray to Harper Larry's. So that concludes the meeting. Thanks.
Hey, Greg. Hey,
Yep.
Greg.
Yep.
Bill Fox.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask if there's show and tell online. Sorry. Oversight. You guys are all welcome to do show and tell. Sorry, I forgot about you.
You're welcome to come to Harpoon Larry's too.
Yeah, if you can get in your Learjet and get here before we leave, that works. So anyone online want to do some show and tell?
Look, there's John there.
No, but a Learjet wouldn't work. I think you'd have to have a Concorde, and I think they took those out of service a while back.
Greg.
Yep.
Bill Fox. I have something very quick.
All right, let me spotlight you here.
Okay. Believe it or not, while I've been enjoying this meeting, I have been designing a ship model that I'm going to build.
So you're saying you haven't been paying attention.
Well, I've been paying attention, but I've been drawing. I don't know how clear this is. This is a Captain John Smith. It's the first Jamestown, Scotland ferry. Yeah. And we have, you probably remember, I did a presentation once. We have restored the upper deck house and have it on display in Surrey. And you may remember a few months ago, someone offered a model of the USS Missouri, this oversized 1/16 of an inch scale model. And so what I've been doing while I've been enjoying the meeting and listening carefully, I have been drawing a drawing for, I don't know whether this will show up or not.
Here you go.
This is the this is a little model to the same scale that I want to display beside the battleship, just to show. I mean, this thing is about 3 inches long and the battleship is about 5 feet. So anyway, just wanted to share that. And I'm going to build this model before Monday. That's when we're having open house.
Get to work.
Okay.
Very cool. All right, anyone else online? More?
Yeah. I'm building the Caldecraft Victory. And I have the rudder installed, the rudder chains, and the rudder line up to the, I don't know if you can see it, up to the mizzen channel. And I put on the hammock cranes. And now I'm trying to make hammocks to go into the hammock cranes. They're really small. They're about 1 inch in length, inch and a quarter. And I folded them in half. And I'm gonna glue them into the hammock cranes. So we'll see how that works out. And that's about where I'm at right now. So we're moving along. I don't know if you can see the hole or whatever.
Yeah, they're looking really good as always.
Thank you.
Recommend this kit for beginners?
Depends on your skill level. It really depends on your skill level. There are people online building it who are beginners and they're doing a nice job. But I'm not that mechanically inclined. A friend of mine made me a jig to help me with the hammocks, to fold them in half, to help me hold them, to tie them, because you got to tie them also. So, but I'm not that mechanically inclined. So my friend Larry from the Jersey Ship Club helped me out with that. And that helps with the hammock cranes. But it's a great kit. It's just very time consuming.
Seeing little jigs like that are great little presentations. You know, show us sometime. Oh, here we go.
See, there it is. And there's a hole in the middle. And I put the hammocks in here and then I tie it. So it's easy to tie. I keep it in a vise.
Okay, cool.
But he thought about
Otherwise, it just unfolds because it's just rolled up loose.
Yeah, I use cocktail napkins to make the hammock cranes, to make the hammocks. And I roll them up into rolls. And then I cut them. And then I fold them in half. And there's my hammock.
All right.
Yeah, Mort,
Yeah,
who produces the kit?
Caldecraft.
Caldecraft.
It's
Thanks.
172 in scale. But I opened up the bottom, you see here.
Yep.
Normally it would be covered, and I put flags in the flag locker. And I exposed a couple of the decks. I put the Admiral's sleeping quarters in, some of his dining cabin. I opened up the master's cabin and I furnished that. So it's online. I have a build log on Model Ship World.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Looks great. Move on.
Pardon me?
I said it looks great. Shall we move on?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, well, again, sorry, I forgot about you guys online temporarily. Glad we got the two of you. But it sounds like that's it. So again, thanks for attending and see you again in a month.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.